Hello and welcome to Blockbuster Backrooms. Tonight's a bit of a special episode. Me and my main man here, Fab, watched 2 movies last night. You want to say hi, Fab?
Hey, I'm Fabrizzo. I'm a fan of horror, so I thought this would be pretty fun to do.
Sweet as. So the 2 movies we looked at was Viral, which is a 2016 zombie horror directed by Errol Schwarman and Henry Joost. As always, I'm sorry if I messed up your names there. And it was also written by Christopher Landon and Barbara Marshall. We follow 2 sisters as they try to live through the initial outbreak that turns out to be a parasitic worm that uses babes as their hosts. On top of this, we watched Wrong Turn, the first one in the series. Fairly fitting, I gotta say, as the 7th installation is currently in theatres right now. So maybe we'll go through the rest of the movies for like a special Wrong Turn month. The first film of Wrong Turn was made in 2003, and it was written by Alan B. McElroy and directed by Rob Schmidt. The film follows a doctor who takes a back road and ends up, surprise, surprise, making a wrong turn. He crashes into a camper van, and that's how we meet our main cast of the film. They walk off to find a phone, and it turns into a fight for survival as they're attacked by mutant cannibal hillbillies who live in the woods they're in. Alrighty, so Fab, what did you think of Viral, first of all?
It was like a pretty interesting way to show the whole zombie infection thing.
Yeah, I like the fact that they tried to go for a parasitic route.
Yeah.
I think it's not something you see a lot in zombie films. It's always like a virus or a disease or something.
Like the only time I can think of something similar is with the video game The Last of Us.
Oh, and it's like the mushroom growths.
The fungus zombies kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was like pretty interesting to see like in an actual movie kind of thing.
I think their ideas for it stood out really well.
Yeah.
And the only other zombie film where I can think of the like ideas standing out would be Contagion.
Yeah.
Where the zombie virus is transmitted through sex. So it's basically a really, really bad STI. But yeah, apart from the interesting sense of how the zombies were formed, I found the rest of it kind of fell apart though. What did you think?
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that it was kind of like a teen horror movie. There was just so many things that they could have done better, and they kind of went towards the direction of this main character likes this guy. Let's make the storyline about that.
Let's make it work.
Yeah, which would seem like pretty forced.
I mean, I guess like at the end they do end up going off together, and I suppose you can accept that considering they're like the last 2 in their secluded mountain range neighborhood or like gully neighborhood. So it's 2 sisters, and I found her older sister, who is like, I guess, the main problem in the film. Really kind of.
Because she's kind of like the other half of the main character.
Yeah, she's the other half. Our main character is really sweet, and she's like, oh, it's a pandemic. We shouldn't go outside. We shouldn't go to parties. And I am going to get to that. Don't worry. But her sister's just really bitchy.
Yeah.
Kind of catty. And then her excuse at the end, by the way, spoilers for both of these movies as we talk about them. At the end, she ends up admitting, because she's pretty sure she's going to turn into a zombie.
Yeah.
That it's because the dad cheated on the mum.
Yeah, with that college student.
Yeah, and that's her excuse for being a total bitch throughout the film. And I get it would be upsetting news, and
But
it
it's
does...
kind of unwarranted in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and then she didn't even tell her sister, and her excuse was, we didn't think you'd handle it.
Yeah, like, aren't they supposed to be, like, 17-ish? Like,
Yeah, they're, like, in college doing college science
Yeah.
classes.
so, like, she's definitely mature enough to, like, be able to handle divorce.
It actually seemed like the older sister handled it pretty badly, considering how rude she was to her sister.
Like, in a real, like, family sense, they should have told her.
They
like,
really
if,
should have
if the
told
parents
her.
broke up and are literally divorced, I'm assuming, since they didn't have the rings.
I think that they were trying to sort it out. I think, because they say they moved to this place, which is the main setting for the entire movie, is this weirdly secluded little gully neighborhood.
Suburb kind of thing.
Yeah, something. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the 2000 and I'm gonna guess 3 Fright Night.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
Okay, well, for any listeners who have seen it, you'll know the like little suburb that our main cast are like living in, and it's basically that, but you add mountains around it, or like, yeah, sides. It has sides.
Yeah. That's a nice backdrop. That's about it.
Yeah. And I think it was meant to be their new start, but you can
Yeah.
tell that the mum's absolutely pissed at the dad, which she has a right to be. And then they do find the ring in the room when they're looking for the gun,
Yeah.
which is like kind of a final straw for our main girl to be like, oh, something's really up with my parents.
Yeah.
Mum never takes off her ring. Like, ask them.
Like, she did have that one scene where she was asking the dad, like, oh, is everything all right with you and Mum? But
Yeah.
the dad kind of just deflected it away.
Yeah.
And was just like, oh, no, everything's fine. And, like, let's just hug. Like,
Speaking of which, their dad is the science teacher at their school. And I don't know if it's just because I didn't take science class past year 9, but it kind of felt like quite a low-level science class, despite it being meant to be college level.
yeah, I was assuming it was supposed to be kind of like, well, for New Zealand, kind of like level 2 NCA
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Like, they seemed old enough that they should be
Yeah.
nearing the end of their school years, but he's like, do you guys know what a parasite is?
Yeah.
Like, I really hope they know what a parasite is by this age.
It was very, like, intermediate school kind of thing, like,
Yeah.
very introductionary.
Which was something.
But I guess it's American school systems different than New Zealand or something.
I mean, maybe. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I know their leveling is way different, but I
Yeah.
never know what our levels would equal to, like, their grades.
I got no clue, honestly.
No, it's something I'd have to look up. Okay, so one really interesting thing with Viral Voe is Obama.
Yeah, he just appeared out of nowhere. Like, he was in the starting scene of the movie where they kind of show, oh, there's a virus thing happening.
Yeah, which is something
Yeah.
else I'm going to bring up later.
And then they show, like, a little clip just saying, like, Obama's like, oh, this is our national emergency. The CDC are taking care of this.
Yeah, and when that popped up, we were both like, Obama, hi. And I think you mentioned that it was
It was,
a clip from Ebola.
yeah, like, because the whole Ebola thing was happening in 2014.
Yeah.
And since this movie was in 2016, I'm just assuming they took the clip from one of his press conferences.
Which would make sense, because while we were watching the movie, I tried to do some quick research, and I couldn't find anything about Obama being in the
no.
film.
Like, I was kind of going through, like, a little rabbit hole for it, and
Yeah.
I saw that, like, on the Obama YouTube page, he has, like, a bunch of, like, press conferences from, like, back around that time.
Yeah.
So I'm just assuming, I'm, like, 80% sure that it was taken from the Ebola outbreak that was going on.
Do you think he knows he's in this shitty teen horror movie from
God.
2016?
He probably gets, like, royalties from it, like, just couple of dollars every few months.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Another thing with viral is they decide that removing the parasite would fix their sister because their sister gets infected.
Yeah.
And they do it in the way that they saw in a video in their science class, which was like you cover up the breathing hole. When it comes up for air, you take away the tape, and then you pull it out. And I think both of us were like, if this was going to work, would there really be such a nationwide lockdown? And like, would people really be getting killed if they could remove it like this?
Yeah, because like, if high school students like thought of that idea, definitely CDC scientists would have.
Yeah. Like, doctors are going to be like, maybe I can just pull it out with tweezers.
Yeah. And like, I guess the CDC wouldn't want to cause panic, but they could have sent out a message like, if you're infected, call us. Don't try to fix it yourself. Or
yeah. Like, we see that it's super fucking painful to get removed.
Yeah.
Because they knock their sister out by drugging her. And then as they're pulling it out, she is woken up from her drug-induced sleep from the pain. That shit was long.
It was a nasty visual, but at the same time, very cool.
It was very cool.
Yeah.
It made me think about The Ruins, a much better movie, and how they went right in with their like gore scenes.
Yeah, with,
that
like,
was
the vines growing and stuff.
And like it's a practical effect. It looks good. Especially considering like a few scenes before we see Shotgun Kelly's arm get ripped off and shitty CGI.
Yeah, I don't even know what he was doing in that movie, honestly.
He appears in a surprising amount of random, not very good horror.
And like, I mean, he was like on Bird Box, but his character is literally the same. Just the edgy, cool dude, like, I'm here to fuck shit up and stuff.
While we're still on the topic of viral, I wanted to talk about how surprisingly accurate they got people's reactions to a pandemic.
Yeah.
Since we've had COVID and everything happen, and it's still going on, everyone goes into lockdown, right? It's like announced that there's a quarantine, no one can leave. Everyone sent out like these care packages by the government, which I was like, damn, that's actually better treatment than what people in real life got. Like they got little first aid kits, they got rations and shit.
They got like 12 days of MREs.
To like, so they would
radio.
never have to leave their house for like at least a week. And then you'd assume that they'd go around and do another drop off if shit didn't go completely haywire as it does in the movie. But all of the kids are like, no, it doesn't matter. All the adults are like, away, you're panicking. Let's just sneak out of our house and go to a giant party.
Yeah, and like,
let's invite people over.
Not just that, but like the location of the party was just like a half-finished building.
Yeah, so I think the suburbs were still in development, and it was...
I don't know, it didn't make any sense though, because like some of the walls were up, the electrical wires were everywhere, and like there were lights working, but none of the walls were finished, so like...
Yeah, and they were like bathtubs in unfinished rooms. Like the rooms weren't built, but there was a bathtub, probably just because they wanted the kissing scene.
Yeah, it looks like they just added that scene just for the sake of like, these kids just want to party. Like,
yeah, I will admit though, a half-finished house, it did look like a pretty cool place to party. Yeah. At the same time, it looked like a crack den.
It did, yeah. Especially with like the random strobe lights that they were having out of nowhere.
Yeah. One thing that really got me in the party scene was, of course, they go upstairs because they want to get frisky. They want to have some spicy times. And they walk in on someone doing exactly what they wanted to do. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, haha, sorry. And then when they walk away, the main girl's like, oh, what a slut. And I was like, buddy, you're up here to do the exact same
Yeah.
thing. Like, shut your mouth, I swear to God.
We don't slut shame in this podcast, just saying. God, but yeah, that whole party scene was just weird.
Weird, but accurate, considering
Yeah.
what people are like today with everything that's going on. And this is like a really hardcore virus too. It's I assume most of the people in that suburb would have been going to the same school.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would have gotten around very quick that one of the girls that like got infected at the school fucking vomited blood onto a guy. And yet they're like, oh no, let's go to this big party. Let's not wear our face masks. Let's do all of this. And it's how everyone gets infected and how the entire suburb goes to shit.
Yeah.
And
One thing I just didn't understand is that, like, the main character's friend, she was the one who, like, first got infected. But
oh, yes.
where did she go after she fell, like, on the ground and vomited on the other dude? Like,
I think they said that she got taken to hospital.
right.
I'm assuming what happened is after she vomited, because, like, they told our main chick to go and get someone, like the nurse or whatever.
Yeah.
And the curly-haired guys, they're like, oh my gosh, are you alright? He gets vomited on. Blood all over his face, so, like, he's instantly infected. Because these worms are, like, given to you through blood vomit.
Yeah.
And then they'll, like, crawl into any orifice, including, like, your tear ducts and your eyes.
Yeah.
And then you're infected, but you're not affected right away.
Yeah, it's like an incubation kind of period.
Yeah, they incubate, they make you really hungry, and then as you eat, you're feeding it until it can, like, control you. And you do end up with a few inside you, so I assume they're laying eggs in that incubation period.
Yeah.
The parasites are cool. I like the idea.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool idea. I loved how, like, they just come out of the ears and do the clicking noise
Oh,
thing.
yeah, like echolocation kind of.
Yeah, that was, like, a very interesting thing.
I enjoyed that a lot because
Yeah.
the bodies go blind. And I mean, people are probably dead by the time they take control if they're vomiting up blood.
Yeah, I'm assuming
like,
that's
having
why they
bad
go all
times.
blind and stuff.
Yeah. So that they're a dead body, which means eventually the body would end up dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess parasites have to go find a new host, but it's probably the point. Infect as many people as you can and keep going, keep moving. One thing that never really got continued on in the movie, though, was they had these mentions of, like, basically covens, I guess, of the parasites where they'd get together. And we see it. There's a scene where she's, like, sneaking around a house and below a bunch of people that committed suicide to avoid the infestation, pretty much. They find, like, 10 of these infected people all around the girl's main chick, who's the first person we see get infected. And the worms are, like, going into her mouth and, like, it's really weird, but it's never continued on.
No. I know, like, at the start of the movie, there was that conspiracy theory guy, like, when she was looking through Facebook.
Oh,
He
man,
did mention
yeah.
that. He was, like, in Asia and other countries, they were finding, like, groups of these people just,
Yeah.
like, just hiding out just in groups, like, basically probably making more eggs and
Yeah.
spreading more. But it was such a fast little scene that they never talked about it anymore.
They never, I don't know if it's that word, but, like, continue the idea
Like,
past.
expand it.
Yeah, expand on the idea of there being these groupings, which I think is a shame. It could have been something really interesting.
Yeah.
In my mind, they're just all converging to make one big worm.
Big worm. Yeah.
Worm. I guess if we tried to be more serious about it, maybe they take the worms from a dead host when,
Yeah.
like, the body's given up being able to move on them, and then they all just, like, squiggle out of the last host into all these new hosts until you're just worms inside a flesh suit, pretty much.
Yeah. But I just, like, thought of something because they did mention that they're kind of like a hive mind.
Oh,
kind of
yes,
thing.
we do see that.
So you know how like the friend of the main character was on the ground and
Yeah.
the worms were coming out of her?
Yeah.
Was it because she was the one who infected all of them? That they all like came up and
Maybe? I
'cause-
guess she did infect the guy that ended up infecting other people. So I guess
Yeah.
we're like she's the queen of that suburb.
maybe that's why they like go into like little groups in different places.
They're like,
They kind of
"Oh,
like
Queen worm."
yeah. God knows, honestly, they could have expanded so much on it.
There's
but-
so much potential. And then you mentioned the Facebook guy, which is something I forgot to say when we were talking about their showing of like a pandemic,
yeah.
is that we see them getting like all their information from a random guy in Facebook comments. And it makes me think of like all the anti-vaxxers and shit who find all their information on
Yeah.
Facebook. And then you're like, can you back this up? And they're like, I don't need to back it up. You do the research if you want to know where I found all
God.
my information from.
It was like, in a way, kind of dystopian to see. Like,
Yeah, they got so much on point.
yeah. Because, like, that's literally what's happening now. Like, all those people saying, like, coronavirus is caused by 6G and vaccines.
Right. Oh, man. It's sad to think about, to be honest.
Yeah.
I used to think, well, the idea of zombie apocalypses were fun. I used to always go like, oh, nah, people are smart enough. The government's onto it enough. It would never get past, like, maybe a small number in the grand scheme of how many people there are being infected and would get wiped out. But we just seen COVID, seen movies like this. I'm just like, oh, nah, we're absolutely
Yeah,
fucked.
we're gonna get wiped out. Like, the amount of people who just didn't heed any warnings about, like, group gatherings and COVID.
Right?
Like, a zombie apocalypse would just kill everyone.
100%.
Yeah.
Or, I guess the other way you could look at it is you'd have so many people wanting to believe that they'd just believe it's a zombie apocalypse. And I think I'd get mad if people reacted to the really surreal out the idea of a zombie apocalypse happening better than they reacted to fucking COVID.
Yeah.
I'd be like, damn, oh no.
That would be so weird to happen.
Oh well, most of the people that would care would probably be dead by that point anyway.
I feel like there'd just be so many ignorant people if something like that happened.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, oh no, it's fine. We'll keep living our lives. And then they just get eaten by a zombie. And
Righty, I guess a good segue to go into our next film would be at the start of Viral. They have your cliched, generic pictures over top of like a news reading, and it's viruses moving about. And then in Wrong Turn, we kind of have the same thing. So I can't remember if there was narration at the start of Viral, but we...
in the Viral one, it was kind of like news clips.
Yeah,
Like,
and...
one of them was Obama.
Yeah, sorry, Wrong Turn. Was there narration at the start of Wrong Turn?
I'm pretty sure there was. They were talking about, like, the whole mutation thing.
Yeah, so both movies had these starting points of clips with narration over the top, and it's like news clips. In Viral and in Wrong Turn, it's like articles and asylum documents.
Yeah.
And I think what I found interesting was the fact that when it happened in Viral, we were both like, wow, okay, cliche zombie movie, this is stupid, let's move on. But when it happened in Wrong Turn, we were like, ah, yes, nostalgia, very good.
I guess something about it too is to guess, like, it's Wrong Turn. It just seems like such a classic horror movie trope. Kind of like the strange people we don't know about, but they're killers, and like,
Yeah.
if we bother them, they're gonna obviously kill us.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the images like they showed in the starting sequence, they were just so weird. It was just like headshots of like these mutated hillbillies and
True.
then
I guess it was a lot more interesting to look at
yeah.
than Viral's one, which was just generic images of cells and shit for a microscope.
Yeah. Then again, Wrong Turn also did like the whole looking close to a cell and all that.
Oh no, I guess because Wrong Turn, despite being made in like 2003, feels very like 90s slasher.
Yeah,
To
definitely.
be fair, if it weren't for some of the characters, I would have 100% thought of it as a 90s film.
Yeah.
Mind you, I guess 2003 isn't really that far off from 90s anyway.
And like the fashion and just the way the camera looked, like
Yeah.
the way it was filmed, it did look very 90s. Like
Yeah. Oh no, it's definitely an enjoyable film.
yeah.
And we're going to get into it in just a few moments. But first, we need to have a little ad break. We'll be right back.
Support this show and others like it by giving a donation. For more information, go to www.mpr.nz/donate.
Hello! Welcome back to Blockbuster Backrooms. If you're just joining us, we are having a bit of a special episode tonight. I'm here joined by Fab as we talk about Viral and Wrong Turn. So just before our break, we were talking about Wrong Turn and its overall vibes, and you mentioned the characters. And that's something I wanted to get into, is the likable characters.
Oh, none of them were likable, really.
In Wrong Turn.
Oh, other than the very skinny hillbilly who just seemed very happy.
Okay, yeah, no, I think... So, Wrong Turn is very nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Because it was set in, like, my childhood when I was starting to get really into horror. And that hillbilly is, like, the same hillbilly I loved when I was, like, little teenage Serena.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that many people love him.
He was like just a great character. Like honestly, I would actually be rooting for him more than the main characters of the movie.
When the first time I watched it, I was rooting for him and I was like, oh my gosh, he can do it. And when they hit him out of a tree, I almost cried because I thought he was dead. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah, and like the way they filmed that scene in particular, it looked like he was just dead. Like
Yeah, and the other hillbillies' reactions to it, you're like, fuck, this guy has died.
because they literally just look at his body, do a few grunts, then walk away.
Yeah,
And then
but they're sad grunts. They're like, my
sad
brother
grunts.
has died grunts.
Yeah. And then he like appears out of nowhere for a jump scare at the end, like at the final conflict. Kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it's interesting you said that none of them were likable though, because over the movie, the sunflower guy.
Oh wait, yes. I
Yes.
forgot about him for a second.
So the rest of the cast, they are forgivable, but the sunflower guy was great, and I was honestly rooting for him so much.
Yeah. He was just such a nice guy. Like everything he did was just because he loved his new fiance.
Yes.
And he was just like, we're taking this little trip, then we're gonna get married and stuff.
I know, they'd like just, in the film, they'd just gotten engaged before the trip, and he's so cute. There's like a scene where he's so excited about their wedding and he's just talking about his plans for it. And he's like, we could get this singer, but not this singer because of course we're knockoffs, and a knockoff this guy, well, that's just like awful. You just can't handle that. And it's so cute. And he's so far off in his thoughts that he doesn't notice his girlfriend is missing.
Yeah.
Until like 5 minutes. And it's set up that you think maybe the hillbilly's got her, but she's just doing like a jump scare.
Yeah.
She's trying to scare her man.
And like the sunflower guy, he was the only one who was actually nice to the main protagonist, the doctor.
Right?
Yeah, because like when he crashed by accident with quotation marks, like he was the only one who was like, "Are you okay? Like, it's fine, it's fine."
And the thing, I could understand the horrible reactions if he was like getting mad at them for being where they were. But he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'll pay for everything. I didn't mean to." And everyone else is like, "You're damn right. You'll pay for everything. That's my mum's camper van."
Yeah.
But the Sunflower guys just feel like, "Bro, are you okay? You were just in a car crash."
Until he saw his bike, and then it was like, "Oh well, my bike's broken too."
But even then he was nice about it. He was like, that's my bike."
Yeah.
And you're like, he doesn't want to be that person, but I have the feeling his bike was like his main transportation to get everywhere.
Because I mean, like, if he's using this bike out in the mountain area, that would be an expensive as hell bike.
Oh yeah.
God, probably goes for like at least minimum, I'd say $300, and that's a lot.
Yeah, no. And I think one thing you mentioned, since we're on the car crash, is because the camper van's total, because they ran over barbed wire, there obviously are hillbillies left out, and they realize it was done on purpose, but they don't think anything past hillbillies just don't like people.
Yeah.
So they just try and screw with us. And our guy's car is just absolutely totaled. But halfway through the film, you were like, why didn't they just go back to the gas station?
Yeah, there were two things that they could have done and nobody would have died. Like, at the start, the guy could have just waited at the traffic jam. Like,
oh, yeah.
And
the entire thing set off because of that traffic jam.
Yeah, he could have literally called the person that he was going to meet because he still had phone signal then.
Yeah,
he could have called them and be like, "Oh, traffic jam, I'll be there like probably a couple of hours late."
Yeah.
And he could have waited. Or when they crashed, they could have just walked back in the direction they came from.
Right. Flippin'. Oh, man. And it's proven, like, it's shown his phone stops getting signal once he reaches a certain point in those back roads, which makes... It's one that makes sense because, let's face it, it is pretty hard to get signal out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But the entire reason he went that way was because there was like a chemical spill. And when he asked the driver in front of him what was happening, he was like, "It'll probably be an hour for them to clean it up and we'll be back on the move."
Yeah.
Just call the guy you're having a meeting with and be like, "Hey, I'm going to be late." Because he was calling him on the back roads before his phone gave up. Like, "Hey, I'm going to be like 30 minutes late." Does he even say that he had to take a different route? I don't think he does.
No, I think it cut out before he was actually explaining what he was doing.
Yeah, that's when he lost signal.
But the whole movie could have just ended if he just said, "Okay, well, I guess I can maybe take a nap in the car for like a couple of minutes." But no, he needed to be there.
I think so. This was your first Wrong Turn movie as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as the movies progress, they get a little bit more cheesy and fun. And I think rewatching the first one made me realize how little traps were used in this one. So for most of the movie, the characters are being chased by these murder hobo hillbillies. As you go through other ones, there's a lot of chasing, but there's a lot more traps set as well, which is quite fun to see. If we end up reviewing the rest, you'll have a good time.
Because I remember we watched the trailer for the latest one that is in the movies now.
Yes, the 7th installation.
Yeah, and like they have that one like Indiana Jones-esque trap
with the big log.
With the log coming down the hill. Like, that looked cool as hell.
As I was looking into this, just to get like directors' names and stuff, it said that the 7th one is not a continuation. It's just a like restart, reimagining.
Oh, yeah.
And I've said it to a lot of people. I said it to you, it's upsetting to know, spoilers for the new movie in the theatre, that there's no murder hobo hillbillies and that it's a cult instead. And I guess I can't judge it too much because I haven't seen it. But half of me is out here getting really mad because they removed the best characters. The other half of me is trying to be like, well, you don't want a movie to be the same thing all the time. Give the new one a chance.
Yeah.
So I think if we're reviewing that, something we should look at is the remake and new ideas any good?
I guess like they probably changed it because of, well, PC culture is like a big thing now. So maybe like they just don't want to ostracize the hillbilly community, like hillbilly / redneck kind of thing.
Yes. Throughout the movie, you just learn more about them though, and I think they're hillbillies, but they're like inbred, and it caused mutations, and then those inbred mutated guys slept with each other again, and it just kept happening until you end up with these guys distantly removed, where you're like, that's a man, but that's a fucked up man.
Yeah. But I feel like it would still be a really good watch, the latest one.
Yeah. I think I did see a small review that said it was good, just a little disappointing. And I guess that comes back to fans of the one we watched together and like the earlier movies missing out on their main guys, which is our murder hobo family.
Yeah.
Because they're great.
Yeah, if I was like very into the Wrong Turn fandom, like I would probably be annoyed too that like the latest movie's just something completely different.
Yeah. But then the other half of me is thinking like I don't know, with Halloween, it was never meant to be specifically Michael Myers. I believe, so going off memory on the facts I read, but I'm pretty sure they wanted it to just be like an overarching name for different movies, which is why one of the movies in there, because there's like so many by this point, has absolutely nothing to do with Michael Myers. But of course, everyone got outraged because they thought it would be like, it would have Michael in it.
Yeah.
And so now we just have the Halloween franchise, which is known for Michael Myers. And I guess that's why part of me is like, no, we can't just instantly judge Wrong Turn 7. We should watch it and try and give it a chance, because I guess we don't really want a Halloween happening with the Wrong Turn series.
Yeah, I get what you mean with that.
Yeah. And like, the Hillbillies had their chance. I've had 6 movies.
Yeah. I've had some good times. Like, give someone else a try.
Yeah. Although I think one of the guys I worked with watched the newest one, and he said that it was a little bit boring and not enough death.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like movies like Wrong Turn are kind of like a slapstick sort of like gore.
Yeah,
horror?
it's something they've done well. I think, because we watched the first one, and I think they understand what they're making, and they're like, this is a stupid concept, let's not take it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of movies fail on doing that. They're like, super serious horror movie, so watch, all these people are dying, how horrible, but it's something really fucking stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely did execute the whole like, oh, these are just murderous mutant hillbillies. Like, that's it. That's the whole movie, and it's fun. Like,
there's no reason behind it. They're hunting you because you're in their woods.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was definitely a good time, and if you were choosing between the two, Wrong Turn every time. I gotta say.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Wrong Turn than Viral again.
Yeah.
Because Viral was just a bit too slow for me. Like,
a little bit slow. It had questionable shots. Like at the end of Viral, the governments and shit are just bombing all the infected areas.
Yeah.
And our 2 main characters by this point, which is the main chick and the guy she had a crush on, jump into a swimming pool to avoid being blown up by the house. But the thing is, the house is like directly next to the pool they jumped into, and nothing goes in the water other than them.
No, like like they didn't even consider the fact that shockwaves are a thing.
Yeah.
Like the thing literally exploded one step behind them, and they jumped just as it hit, but they just ended up going into the pool.
Into the pool.
They would have been thrown like into the concrete.
The only thing affected was for one house the bomb hit. But these they were big bombs that were being dropped. I would like to think at least the houses next to that house would have been affected.
Or like maybe the pool just like kind of cracked and the water went everywhere.
Yeah.
No, like
I don't know. Or even just some debris fell into the water with them. I'd accept that. I accept that with action movies. But action movies have like shit falling in the water, and the guys are like, "Oh my gosh, gotta avoid it so I don't die."
But they could have definitely done better things with it. But again, it was kind of like a teen horror, so like what they were trying to do, they did.
Like, oh, so relatable.
Yeah. But as a horror, it wasn't the best.
No. I feel like a lot of horror actually fails at being scary.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the genre because you're guaranteed specific things, but it's pretty rare for a movie to stop you and keep you up at night.
Yeah, like I've noticed that with like more newer horror movies, they're just they're kind of like just the same ideas of other movies, just washed a bit. Here's a newer one kind of thing. Like,
recoded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was still good. I enjoyed it. Just wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, I remembered a lot more happening in it because again, it's a film I watched when I was quite young. And rewatching it now, I realized how lacking it was. And there's a really weird scene. I know we're back onto viral, despite this meant to be about Wrong Turn at this point. But there's a really weird scene with a deer in the suburbs, and she's just looking out her window, and there's a deer.
Yeah, and like it's their one scene. It was probably on screen for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they never talk about it again. There's no deers, no animals in the movie at all.
No, it is the only animal we see.
Other than the worms, I guess.
Oh yeah, other than the worms.
Yeah, but yeah, it was kind of a really random scene.
It would have been quite cool if they had it come back and we saw that it was infected, because then you know that even like just your average animals, even though I guess maybe deer's average for America. Yeah. We don't really have them here.
No.
That your average animals are being infected, so you'd even have to be like, shit, even if I'm surviving, can I hunt
for like
animals?
And all that, yeah.
Or do I have to become a vegan?
Yeah. And I mean, like, yeah, that scene was just weird and very abrupt because it gets like interrupted by the helicopter going past.
Yeah, which makes the deer skedaddle, so she looks back and it's not there. Part of me is wondering if they were trying to use it as symbolism, which was like, hey, look, freedom. You're losing your freedom. There's a deer outside. Now it's gone, just like your freedom.
Yeah, but then the military disrupts it with the helicopter.
And I do feel like an animal in zombie movies or just horror in general, where like it's there and it's gone, is a common trope, but it's normally shown better.
Yeah.
Like its meaning comes up a lot more.
Yeah, they definitely could have done that scene in particular better.
Yeah.
But I guess it was just a very throwaway kind of thing.
Again, I think it comes back to having these ideas but not expanding on them to a point where they're anything more than just an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. The parasites seem to be the only super thought-through thing.
Yeah, that's basically about it.
Yeah, and even then there's parts that kind of left you wanting, like the Covens.
Yeah.
big worm.
Like, and what happens after the worms, like, get in groups? Is that it? Like,
They just wanted to have a party.
Yeah.
Their own quarantine
They're
party.
basically like the teenagers. Like, it's the circle of life. Worm want party.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but then again, it was produced by Blumhouse, though. Which
True,
already
that's-
has a track record of...
Bad movies.
Yeah.
I think that's something we talked about when we watched it, too.
Yeah. They, like, bring out so many movies in a year. And maybe, I'd say 2 or 3 are actually good.
Yeah, well, he is like a good businessman. So I think when we were talking about this, I think I said it. But he throws money at a bunch of different movies, gets the Blumhouse name put on it, and then if the movie flops and does no good, well, to him that was like a small amount of money that he used to help them.
Yeah.
So, oh well, who cares? Or else it's like a good movie and he gets that money back. He's happy. He'll go throw it at another movie. Or it turns into like a stupid cult classic and he makes a shit ton of money off it, and then that's great. And he produces a lot in a year. Like,
Yeah,
the
definitely.
brand is on a lot of movies.
It's definitely one of those brands that, like, you definitely think of horror as soon as you hear the name Blumhouse.
Yeah, and you see like their little title card pop up, and you're
Yeah.
like, right, I'm probably in for a bit of a shit
Yeah.
show.
Like, oh, it's one of those movies.
But at the same time, there's always that slight hope that it might be one of the really good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, I can't actually think of any Blumhouse movies that I thoroughly enjoyed.
I feel like now that I am getting into actually reviewing the movies, I pay a bit more attention to the logos that pop up on screen.
Yeah.
And while it's really bad that I never remember them too much.
Yeah, I can't think of any other production names in the whole horror genre.
Yeah, I bet I'll go home and I'll put a movie on and it will be like Blumhouse.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, fuck. I've watched this so many times.
Well, most of their movies are the same kind of thing, like demonic possession of an inanimate object.
Oh, they're probably behind Ouija and movies like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure if I put those on, I'd probably see the Blumhouse logo.
I'm pretty sure is it The Boy? That's a Blumhouse production, isn't it?
Bram Stoker.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm pretty
most
sure it's
likely.
Yeah.
I have seen the first one. And damn, we're getting off topic, but
Yeah.
that was stupid.
It really was, like,
Like, it's just a guy inside the wall the entire time. And I think you have to stop and remember that this hobo-looking ass man had to sneak out of the walls every single time to move the doll and then hide before the girl turned around to give the effect of this doll being, like, spooky and possessed.
I just assume there's, like, 5 different doors in each room that
And
go
he's,
into
like,
the walls.
running in and out of them,
Yeah.
some Scooby-Doo shit.
Yeah.
Although I guess I did like the idea of it just being a random dude living in your walls. But the fact he had to move that doll. Maybe in the second one, it's explained that the doll's, like, actually haunted.
Yeah,
but
I've never seen the second one.
I'll get to it at some point. But,
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure they burned the doll at the end of the first movie.
Yeah, and don't they, like, break it?
They
Like,
do something to it because they're like, this doll's fucked up. Let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Save ourselves. And then, like, it doesn't change shit because it was a guy in the wall the whole time.
Yeah. And he probably has, like, a bunch of other, like
You
like
just,
literally
like,
the same doll, like, inside the
an
walls.
entire collection of dolls. So when they break one, he's just like, nah.
Another one. Yeah.
Another one. Oh, man. No, I should rewatch both of them. I
That'll
think.
probably make for another good video, like, just doing, like, sequels and,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whole series of movies.
Well, I think if we want to, we could go into Wrong Turn And if everyone's enjoying this and you're enjoying this,
Yeah, definitely.
we could look at a few more films together. I think Wrong Turn is one I've been wanting to do a full thing on because there's 7 movies. New ones just come out. Hit it. Have a good time.
Yeah. That would definitely be good, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of which, it's about time for us. Thank you for joining us, Fab.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Sweet, I'm glad. And that's it for this week's episode of Blockbuster Backrooms. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, you can find all episodes up on mpr.nz/show/Blockbuster Backrooms. If you enjoy me and want to see some more of my work, you can find me on most social media, including YouTube, under Shit-imma-artist. That's IMMA, because that's just how I like to speak. Would you like to plug any of your stuff, Fab?
No, I think I'm good here.
Nope. All good. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.